Welcome to the world of history. And when I say history, I'm sure many would find it very dry and boring. But honestly speaking, it is one of the most fascinating subject that you can possibly read. Many students find it a little dry and boring just because of one reason, and that is you have to remember so many dates, you have to remember so many events. So that is the only one reason which makes them a little concerned about the subject. But honestly speaking, if you look at history as some kind of a story of the past, it can never be dry or boring. History, if you look at from the Indian context, the corresponding word that we use is itihasa. Now, itihasa means what? The Sanskrit word is itihasa, and the meaning of this word is as it happened. Means it is a story of all the events that had happened in the past. Now, it may not be so relevant apparently, but the moment we understand that this is how our lives have been shaped in the last 2000, 3000, 5000, 10,000 or a million years, it becomes much more fascinating. Just to give you a small example, we know that Babur came with just a few thousand soldiers, and Ibrahim Lodi, against whom he fought the war or the battle, had more than 50,000 soldiers with many thousand on horseback and many thousand war elephants, means elephants which were trained for fighting wars. Now yet, with a small band of army men that Babur had, he could win the battle. So that's really fascinating. And it's not some kind of Hindi movie that we see a hero fighting probably 30, 40 villains. It's a real battle actually. Now why is it that Babur could win? Was he 30 times braver than all the soldiers of Ibrahim Lodi? Not at all. He also had, after all, a trained army. But one small scientific event turned the entire battle upside down. And that was the discovery of gunpowder. It was just a sheer luck that when Babur came from Afghanistan to India, he didn't come directly. He took a slightly detour, that means like slightly longer route, and came through Persia by chance. And while coming from Persia, at that time gunpowder was discovered, and looking at its potential for creating fires, or rather you can say explosive fires, he got an idea. And he carried sackloads of gunpowder along with him. Now during daytime, he knew that he could not win the battle, yet he had that courage. So during daytime, he would hide here and there. I mean, he means he along with his fellow soldiers. During the night time, they would do raids. So what they would do is that they would take some bag full of gunpowder, and using catapults and slings, they would throw it amidst the army, and after lighting a fire. Now these were all explosive fires. And mind you, the soldiers were sitting, lying down, or maybe sleeping with animals and horses all around. And when this fire was lit amongst them, all these elephants and horses, in fear of fire, they would run here and there, killing his own army men. It not only led to chaos, but as you know, the army men were after all Indians only. So they were a little superstitious also maybe. So they were under some kind of a idea that some hell of fire is coming on them, and most of them fled from the battle. Now let's try to imagine the same battle without that gunpowder. What would happen? I don't think, of course it would be a little wild guess, I know, and historical guesses may or may not be very, very important or even relevant also. But I'm sure the battle would have been the other way around, and that is maybe Babur's soldiers would have probably started fleeing from the battle. Maybe. Without gunpowder. Now whereas that small event actually changed the entire course of Indian history. Imagine, it would have been Lodi dynasty instead of Mughal dynasty that we read in history. What a huge change. I'm not saying that would have been any way positive or negative or whatever. I'm not deciding the consequence or even discussing the consequence of it. But the battle or the difference in the battle was created by some far off scientific event. Now, the moment you come to know about these things, history is not just a collection of dates. In fact, you must have noted that during the entire discourse, I didn't even mention any date, I didn't even mention any details which so called can be asked in the exam. I was more interested in that small connection between a historical event and a small scientific event of discovery of gunpowder. Now, this is how actually history has been given shape by a huge number of events happening all across the globe. Such a holistic opinion on history makes it not only interesting, but also I would scale it up and call it, as I used the word earlier also, fascinating. At least I am personally extremely fascinated about small things like this that have given to or that have given shape to big events, in history, and also even small things that are happening even in our own lifetimes as well. Well, with that background, I could only say one thing is that reading history should be just some kind of a passion or a hobby or a habit for each one of us, because to know what we are and to decide for what could be a better future, we also need to know about our past. To know about the mistakes and also the good things that we have done in the past means we may not be individually we, but we as a collective civilization. So therefore, I would only say one thing, and that is, let's all gear up and with a collaborative effort make history an interesting subject. And I'm sure that you would give me constructive criticism of all the small videos that I would be uploading, in which we will take up small things that have been happening in the recent past, or maybe in the ancient past, or maybe even medieval era also. With that message, I end the small introduction here. Hopefully, we will have a very wonderful journey ahead, in which we will discuss about not only history as a subject, but also how it is connected to other subjects like science, economics, and so many other areas, even literature, craft, industry, and so on. Fine. With that message, we end here. We will carry on in future episodes, where we will take up one small event at a time and discuss it amongst ourselves. Maybe I could take the cue by just giving a glimpse of the topic, and maybe after that we can have our own discussions. How we do it, we will discuss it in some other day. Bye bye.